Hey there, Big Brother fans. It is Saturday, July 31st, and I got a long one here. I actually took some time this morning and did show notes and everything. I got a lot to talk about, and I actually wrote it all down, so I wasn't quite as scattered as I usually am. So we're going to go over everything that I came up with that's happened since my last CarCast yesterday morning, and I am saving my typical other stuff to make sure it's at the end. My thank yous. I'm giving a shout out to every single one of my patrons that are currently active. And I'll talk about a couple of other things, but that is all at the end, because one of the things that annoys me about some podcasts is jamming a bunch of stuff at the beginning. I appreciate my patrons, but I want to talk about them at the end. And they're the ones that listen all the way through anyways. All right, that's enough said. We're going to get on with it. I have 3 pieces of paper printed out. I am in my car driving because it's I gotta be in my car to do this at this point now, because it's I get too distracted at home. I get distracted as enough while I'm driving. I have my cast list printed out so I could talk about all them, but I'm not going to. Probably tomorrow I will probably do another cast rundown where I talk about every single cast member. But for today, we're just going to talk about everything that's happened since yesterday morning. By the way, it is about almost noon in the Big Brother house. So that's where we're at. It is between the Power Veto, player selection, and Power Vetoes. That's where we're at in the timeline for those of you listening to this later. All right, that's it. Let's get on with the mic. So, yesterday, they did the wild card competition. Claire and Hannah and Claire and Whitney and Azah participated in it. And I don't know any details of the exact competition other than apparently Claire dominated. So Claire won the competition, and all we know about what she won is that she's safe until jury, which is probably 2 weeks. It's usually the first 5 evicted house guests are not in the jury. So assuming that it is a final 2, if the final players are 2 people, and we have 9 jurors, that puts us at the first 5 people out don't make jury. Again, assuming there's no buyback, which we don't expect there to be one, yada yada, there's not a double eviction, we don't think there is one. We know this coming Thursday is a endurance competition that we're going to get to see. So that's not going to be a double. So it should be a couple of weeks at least, because we're currently at 3 evictees. So we're anticipating 2 weeks from today, 2 weeks from now, ish, Claire will be back to being eligible to get nominated and such. Now, someone asked me, what was the penalty? Was there a penalty? What was the cost of taking this option? And we don't know. We were not told. They have not talked about it. If they have talked about it, I haven't heard it. I speculated that maybe it's something like you can't be head of household. So you're safe, but you can't be head of household, and which would penalize your team because you can't keep the rest of your team safe. I mean, I'm just totally that just popped into my head. That would be a bit of a penalty, right? You get to be safe, but you're not helping your team. You're kind of being selfish. That's a guess. It may not be it at all. It may be just no penalty. Just guess what? You're safe for 2 weeks. And then what they said, I guess the verbiage was, you're safe until jury. So that's why they think it might be sooner than later. They may think there may be a double and all that kind of stuff, but there won't be. All right. So after the wild card competition and reveal, then got into the pre-nominations phase. So we know that Claire used it, so obviously Whitney and Hannah are both potential nominees, and we said that going into it, and neither of them are safe with Claire's move, so that's where we think things are going. So they're having their discussions. The, quote, Royal Flush Alliance met. Other groups got together. There is a chance that I'm off on my timeline here. This may be in a post-nomination meeting. I can't remember now, and I didn't bother to go back and look it up. But at some point, either before or after nominations, which frankly didn't make much difference, the Royal Flush Alliance got together, and remember, that is the Kings and the Queens and Derek X. All right? Hannah is not a member. Whitney is not a member. That Royal Flush Alliance decided or agreed that with Chris's wanting to nominate or putting up Hannah and Whitney. With the target, this was the key part, with the target being Whitney. Everybody, it seemed, said yes to Whitney except for Sarah Beth, and she kind of wanted to target Hannah. That's been Sarah Beth's mantra all along, is she wants to go after Hannah. Those two don't trust each other. I know that Cass, one of the Big Brother updaters that I played Sequester with, has said that she thinks the reason is because Sarah feels that she and Hannah are kind of in the same position, the same place in the house. And that could be. There's other things too going on, but whatever, it's fine. Sarah Beth didn't, she told, no, we're going to go after Hannah, or go after Whitney, that's who we're going to go after. And she eventually acquiesced and said, okay. So that was the Royal Flush meeting. Again, that could have happened after nominations. Spoiler alert, we now know nominations, right? You already knew them. So Sarah Beth agreed to it. Okay, so that's one of the things that may have gone on in between. If not, after, shut up, Mike, you're talking in circles. The other thing was they had Christian and Alyssa, because look, Alyssa was in on a lot of this stuff. As a matter of fact, I think it was Derek F. that was like, this isn't his head of household, it's hers. Which isn't completely true. They actually did talk about things, and they actually flip-flopped on who they wanted the target to be after talking to both Whitney and Alyssa or Hannah. After they talked to Whitney before nominations, they're like, you know what? I kind of want the target to be Whitney or Hannah. She has a good point. And then they talked to Hannah, and it flipped back to, you know what? No, I think we ought to go with the target being Whitney. So I'd say Alyssa's been more of a sounding board than the one pushing the agenda. I think they both agreed upon the agenda, and from all along it's been, Hannah and we need to get out Whitney, and Hannah's going to be the kind of the pawn. So Alyssa was talking with Hannah. Now, this happened a couple of times, and the one I saw is the one I'm going to refer to, and it was actually yesterday. I decided not to do a YouTube live stream because the pre-nomination stuff was going on. I thought, you know what? I can easily plug in my headphones. This is the nice thing about the best thing about the feeds being on mobile devices, because the problem with it is you can't use flashback at all. If you're easily, I should say easily. Don't somebody tell me how you can do it. I realize there are workarounds, especially in Android, but in iPhone world, no, there's not an easy way to do flashback. You're kind of stuck. But if you have, like I do, wired headphones, which I also have wireless, but the wireless doesn't work as well, you can selectively choose which ear to listen in. And so I pulled up the quad cam yesterday on the way home and just listened to whichever one I wanted to listen to, because the left channel in the quad cam is cameras 1 and 2, and the right channel is cameras 3 and 4, and that's how Big Brother has always done it now. I mean, for years and years. You really basically have two things going on, and you can choose between cameras 1 and 2 and cameras 3 and 4. And on the quad cam, you can split your listening, so you can hear either one. So I pulled it up, and cam 3 and 4 had a household room talking, and I just plugged in that earbud, and I just listened to them talk with the people about who they were thinking of putting up. And most of that conversation on my drive home yesterday was Alyssa, Hannah, and Christian talking. And they were basically prepping her for, you're going to be going on the block, you're going to be going on the block. And so she was not taking it bad. She was kind of like, no, I got it. And you're safe. And they kept reassuring her. And they said, no, even if somebody comes down, we're going to put up a joker. We're not going to, you won't be in danger. We promise you, you're totally safe. And there was the biggest worry from Hannah was, well, what if Brittany wins the power veto and takes off Whitney? What are you going to do? Who are you going to put up? Are you going to put up another joker? Because you told the jokers they're safe. And they're like, that won't happen. And yes, we would put someone else up. You will be safe. And they were sincere. They really did intend on keeping Hannah over Whitney. Most of the time they were discussing it. They would occasionally stray into, maybe we should keep Whitney. But most of the time it was Hannah that they were wanting to keep. So during that conversation, Hannah brought up, and she brought it up before, or I don't know how it came, but it was talking about how the Jokers have been gunning for you. You know, the Jokers, she basically said, the Jokers have been gunning for you. And then she said, actually, it was Derek Frazier, who is downstairs in front of everybody saying he's going to target 2 kings, which the Kings is the alliance that Alyssa and Christian are in. And then she kind of caught herself, by the way, I can't say that was for Azza, because someone said I say Azza, like I'm saying huzzah, or a magician or something. Yes, you got me now thinking about it. Azza, that Azza and Brittany didn't necessarily say that. It was Derek Frazier that was saying this stuff. So keep that in mind, because that plays into the evening and tomorrow. She mentions that, and then the conversation goes on, and she leaves, and blah, 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 blah. Let's head on to nominations. Nominations happen. Feeds go down for nominations. I'm glancing while I drive here to see where I'm at. Blah, blah, blah. Hannah said the Jokers were coming for the Kings at 2:53 p.m.-ish yesterday on cams 3 and 4. If you want to go back to the live feeds, if you have the ability using Flashback to see it, 2:53 p.m. you can watch this moment for what it's worth. I think CBS might show it if it ends up being a decent talking point. It could be a decent talking point. If we were still doing the Big Brother Gossip Show, if we were doing it this week, we would most definitely have played this clip and talk about it, because I think it's important. I think Derek reacted so to it the next day, or today and last night, that it's worth showing. I don't know if CBS will or won't. But, so the nominations happen. They come back from the nominations, and sure enough, Hannah and Whitney are nominated. Hannah is right up in the head of household talking with Christian. Whitney is kind of pacing about. She's not happy. She's also like, I'm not surprised, and I could just go home. She talks about how she felt too safe. She's still trying to figure out why they're doing that. She's not, she's doubting herself, but she's handling it well. She's not breaking down in tears. I haven't seen her yet. I've not seen her cry or get all worked up or anything yet. I'm sure there could be some sooner or later, but so far she's been holding it together. But we saw another visit with Christian, and Alyssa came in the head of household room, where they kept reassuring her, "You're okay. We're going to be okay. How are we going to do it? How are we going to play it? Are you going to? Well, and these things will change, and will have kind of changed. But it was like, all right, let's pretend. Let's. You can tell." We'll go with the story to Whitney that neither of you are the target. We're trying to backdoor someone, and that's the way we'll keep her calm through the power of veto. And Derek will be the one that we're going to say we're going to go after. And so both Whitney and Derek said to, both Hannah and Derek said to Whitney at one point yesterday that they think there may be a backdoor target. Derek saying, "I think it might be me." So they've planted the seed, but Whitney's not necessarily buying it very well. But it's worth a try. And as I said, she's holding it together anyways. But that's the angle they're going with right now, is make Whitney think that she's not the target, that somebody else is. Also, after nominations last night, they got Alyssa and Christian got Tiffany and Claire into the head of household room for a little talk and a suggestion of an alliance. And as someone else pointed out, Tiffany rapidly agreed to it, said, "Sure, yeah, we can do that. We'll come up with a name later." I'm not saying it was this brief, but the whole point was, yeah, Tiffany's like, whatever, sure, we can do an alliance. Now, bear in mind that this alliance will make the 6th actual alliance that Tiffany is in, and the 5th alliance that Claire is in. Now, I don't have my list of alliances with me. Dolphika's got a great alliance list, and I think she messaged me yesterday that she does listen to these. And you've probably told me before, and I didn't remember. And I hope I've been pronouncing your name right. But she's got her alliance map, and the easiest way to figure out how many alliances someone is by looking at that is just try to figure out how many lines you have to cross to get to the outside of the map. That tells you the number of the solid. She does thick lines for alliances, and she does thin lines for like one-on-one relationships. So count the number of thick lines you have to cross through to get to the outside of the map, and that's the easiest way to do a count. That's how I've been doing it the past couple of weeks. So Tiffany has 6 alliances. Claire is in 5 alliances. Until Christian and Alyssa made this alliance, they were in a whopping 1 alliance. The only alliance they were in was the Royal Flush. Everything else they had is one-to-one connections or alliances that no longer exist, like the Mafia and the what was the other one that was fake? I can't even think. Anyways, the fake alliances that they were a part of that were fake alliances. So, Tiffany's in a ton of alliances. Is that a good thing? That's a question, and this is where I'm keeping my thumb on my outline because I'm going to go down a bit of a side thought here. How many alliances are too many to be in? Well, you remember Derek and Cody, and actually, so Big Brother 15 and Big Brother 16, I was extremely active in figuring out alliances and following them and charting them, and that's why I keep going back to those two. And I guess those 2 seasons may have been pretty easy to figure out, but when you looked at them, Derek and Cody were dead center of every single alliance that was formed. They were just they were in the middle. They were a member of every single alliance. So at one point, Derek was a member of 6. Derek and Cody were in 6 alliances, and they were the center of every single one of the alliances that were in the house. They were in it, and so as people got picked off, it was just people getting picked off from the weakest of each one of those alliances, or the biggest of each one of those alliances. It's not that simple with Tiffany and Claire and Kyland. Kyland's in 4. Tiffany's in 6. Claire is in 5. And I think Claire is in all of the ones that Tiffany's in except for the cookout. Kyland is in all of the one, is in the cookout along with Tiffany. And it's not quite as clear cut as it was during Big Brother 16. It is kind of closer to Big Brother 15. Big Brother 15, you had McCrae and Amanda as kind of an alliance, and you had Alyssa, I don't know how to pronounce it, and Helen were kind of in an alliance. That's how I had it drawn out. And then Andy was kind of in that middle. It's kind of 4 or 5 people were kind of at the center. It was Amanda and McCrae and Helen and Alyssa, and then Andy kind of hovering in between all those people. Obviously, that one didn't work quite the same because all of those people except for Andy made it to the end. And Andy went along with a couple other people, Spencer and, oh God, I'm sorry, I can't think of your name right now, and you follow me on Twitter, but I doubt you listen to these. They were kind of came along. So that one didn't stay quite as clean as obviously the Derek and Cody season Big Brother 16 did. But the point is, you can be in a lot of alliances, and as long as you are good at not exposing that connection to where people figure it out, you're in good shape. And Tiffany seems to be doing okay so far. She's not as clean as I think Derek was. I don't think people ever really suspected Derek that much. I really don't. Some people know what a strong player Tiffany is, and so I think she's at a bit more risk, but she is in fairly decent shape. And what brings me up to remind me of this is the fact that, and I just tweeted it before I went to record this, fast forward to current time, Alyssa and... Sorry, I had to take a drink. Alyssa and Christian are sitting there watching the TV in the head of household bedroom, and they're going, we're in good shape. We're in really good shape. And I'm going like, you guys aren't in as good shape as you think you are. You're in a whopping 2 alliances, and you just made one of them. The only alliance they are really in is the Royal Flush. So it's not going to take much for them to be exposed and in danger. Whereas Tiffany is fairly well secure in all of her alliances, as long as she can make sure that if one of her alliances comes under attack, she's not the one that gets picked off. But she shouldn't be, because she's in so many alliances. So as long as people don't figure out how many she's in, she's fairly well insulated and should last. Whereas Alyssa and Christian are only in one alliance, and they're going to be... Tiffany and Claire will drop them like a hot potato if the opportunity presents itself. At least that's my take on it. They will find a reason to say, like, no, it's not. They may try to save him if they can, but if they do, it's because they're deciding that the other people that are possible targets are not as valuable to them. All right. So, okay, so I skipped something. Last night, this is still last night after the alliance is formed. We haven't gotten to today yet. So late last night or early in the evening, at some point during the evening, Alyssa, and I want to go back and see this. I think she did it a couple of different times. She talked to him. Alyssa's talking to Derek Frazier, and Alyssa tells Derek, by the way, someone said you were coming after us. And she said it situation. She said, I don't know. I know I saw the quote, or I saw her say it. I guess I could see her say it at one point. She said, they didn't tell me, they told one of my teammates, which it was Hannah, and she did tell Alyssa. She's implying, she didn't say Christian, but she implied, it wasn't me they told, just so you know. And it just set off Derek big time. Really ticked him off. But Derek does talk loudly, and he has said some things, and he gets on Azza for having loose lips, but he himself has had loose lips too. He's not careful about what he talks about. As a matter of fact, there was another instance last night where I guess Azza and Derek were talking in the back bedroom, and Brittany was in there sleeping, but the things they talked about included the cookout alliance, and I don't think that she heard any of it, but there was talk about, well, what if she heard it? What would happen? So somebody's getting evicted. Sorry, just driving and just drove by a house where someone's getting evicted, and I shouldn't be laughing. It isn't meant to be. That's a bad thing. I wasn't laughing as much as it was just like, whoa, somebody's getting evicted. All right. Back to this. Small town, folks. We'll just let it go at that. So Alyssa told Derek about this thing, and he's just worked up about this. So that was kind of the last thing to say that happened in the night. He woke up this morning and announced that, I think he told Xavier he was talking to about it, except for he told Xavier, he's implying that he thinks it may be Whitney. Oh, God, he's bad-mouthing Whitney big time. Derek is. But I'm kind of, and this is bits and pieces now. I'm thinking that Xavier may know that it was that Hannah that did it, but Xavier didn't tell Derek that he thinks Hannah did it. But I think he knows that maybe Hannah's the one that did it, because he was saying to himself, like, Hannah, you got to keep your mouth shut. To himself, not to Hannah. But in any case, Derek said, I'm just gonna let it go today. I'm not gonna let it bother me. Yet that was the first thing he talked about this morning. So I think it's still bothering him. I think it's going to continue to bother him. I think he's going to keep bringing it up. And Alyssa, I think, is regretting saying it to Derek. And I don't know why Alyssa said it to Derek, especially at this point in the game, at this this particular time. What's the point of stirring Derek up right now? It just didn't seem to serve a purpose. But you know what? It did. Alyssa did sleep in the head of household room, by the way. So that bit about, we're going to have to sneak up. No. It's full-on showmance. Everybody knows it. Whatever. They were watching the camera and talking about how they think Sarah Beth and Kylan are a bit of a showmance, but they're more or less snuggling, and they think that Sarah Beth, has a partner outside the house, so they don't think that anything's going on there. Nothing I don't think is going on there at this point. And the same goes with Derek X and Hannah, although I don't think either of them has commitments outside the house. They still are way, much more at the flirting stage. There's nothing going on between those two other than cuddling and talking, but nothing, no kisses are going on, and no, we think we're in a showmance kind of a thing for sure. All right, so the House guest got up today. The power veto picks. That happened just a little bit before I finally started to do this. The power vetoes were picked. Claire is playing. Azza is playing. And Derek X is playing. And apparently Hannah did pick Derek X, which was a bone of contention. They thought maybe we shouldn't do that if Hannah gets house guest choice. Should she pick someone? But she did. She picked Derek X. And so that led to the house guests discussing, when I say the house guests, Xavier and Christian and Derek X, Derek X were up in the head of household room. That's exactly when we found out. We found out immediately when the feeds came back, because those three were up in the head of household room talking about it, and they named everybody that was playing in it as far as who's a competitor, who has a shot to win it, how should I play this, should I try to win it, should I not? Because Derek is all worried about winning it in case he comes across as a comp beast. These guys are so concerned about their resumes and having too many wins now. They're like, oh, if I build my resume too much, then people are going to target me. It's like, guys, I don't know. You keep, I maybe they've all done this in the past, but the amount of time that these people think about how to play it, how much to play it, how hard to play it, your resume. I say all this, and though as I listened to them talking about it, it reminded me again of my playing Sequester last year, and something I did learn, not the first game for sure, but the second game, I started to hear it, and by the time I played the Sequester that was the Hunger Games theme, which I wish I had that. I never went back to watch it, and I said I was going to, because I took third in that. So I almost made the final two, and if I hadn't been dragged, I would have made the final two, but whatever, it is what it is. I'm not bitter. But I was plotting. By the time I was getting close, I was plotting. I was taking notes about how I was going to sell myself at the end. So I was worried about the, quote, narrative. I was worried about my story that I was going to tell at the jury if I had made it. So I can understand where they're coming from, but on the other side of it, it's like, dude, don't throw your game away just to not win a competition. It's too big of a risk to me. You really shouldn't be that concerned about it. But the talk was, oh, well, we could let Claire win it because Claire only has one comp win so far, so she'll have two, and that'll put her on line with everybody else and equal. It's like, I don't think they're trying to be fair. I really think it's just about, let's not make ourselves look too good. And that falls into the overthinking category to me. So that was going on. That was being discussed. Alyssa will be hosting, which is a whole other thing, because I do remember when Azza came up to talk to Christian yesterday, she basically said, I'd like to host. And Christian was kind of, Alyssa kind of may, but I don't think she wants to. She probably won't, but guess what? Alyssa is hosting. So Azza wanted to. But as it turns out, Azza's playing, so that's good. I'm glad for her. I'm secretly rooting for Azza. I like her. I want her to do something, but so far she hasn't done much except for dance really well in the house, and she has a good voice, and she sings, and she's entertaining, but she's not playing the game very hard yet, in my humble opinion, and I really wish she would. So there's that. That's it. We're up to date. We made it through my list. And it is 27 minutes in. And guys, I want to applaud myself for staying fairly on target, on task. I did not get sidetracked too many times. So thank you for listening to me. Now we come to the cleanup portion. So those of you that are done and are tired and worn out, well, you can turn it off. But those of you that aren't and want to hear me thank people, that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to talk a little bit about my other podcast. And then I'll wrap it up. Because, I think you've heard enough for the day. Will I do another CarCast tonight? I don't know. I may not. I may save it all for tomorrow. We'll have to see. Tomorrow, though, I will be going to the Indiana State Fair. So we'll have to see when I have time to do it. I have grandnieces that show cattle. They show both Angus and dairy cattle, and they are participating in the state fair. And so I will go to watch them and support my family, and so I may or may not have time to do a carcass. I will eventually, I'm just not sure when. I may just walk around the state fair and do it while I'm talking to myself there. We'll have to see. All right, so I may also do another one yet tonight. We'll see. I know there are people, and I will touch on this very briefly again, there are people that are really missing the Big Brother Gossip Show. I am missing the Big Brother Gossip Show too. I'm telling you. Every time I do certain things, like I recorded that video of Hannah, throwing Derek F under the bus. And that would have been an audio clip for our show. I definitely would have done that for the show, and we would have shared it and discussed it and talked about it. We would have shared the audio of Derek F freaking out. I mean, this is moments you're like, oh my God, this would have been so good on the show. I hate that. Guys, I miss it. I really do. But there's another side of me that it's like, no, I would have been under so much other stresses for other reasons to do the show tonight that I'm like, no, I needed this break. I needed a break. I need a break. So yeah, I apologize to those of you that are missing it. I miss it too. Obviously, I still love Big Brother. I still want to talk about Big Brother. It's just I couldn't do it this year on the podcast. No. All right. That all being said, let me give a shout out and a thank you to my patrons, the ones that are actually supporting me for doing this stuff. And I did not realize, I looked it up, that I started my patron account in 2018. So I started my patron account during Big Brother 20, if you can believe it. And I'm going to give a shout out from my oldest to my newest patrons, because my oldest ones have been stuck with me for the entire time. Or if they haven't stuck with me, they may have stopped for a bit, but they've come back. So this is in order, according to Patreon, who has signed up for my Become Patrons and who is currently supporting me. And by the way, let me start it out by saying, if you would like to be a patron as well and get a shout out from me, you can go to patreon.com/BBGOSSIP. And I'm kind of being a bit selfish that I'm doing this one today because today is the last day to sign up before the actual monthly charges go through. So yeah, that's one of the reasons I'm doing it today, because that's when the charges come through. So you can sign up whenever you want. It's only charged once a month. But yeah, all right. There was some weird noise. I'm going to pause my thing for a second. I heard some weird noise in my car, and I have to figure out what it is, and I have to stop the car. So I'll be right back. All right. I know for you that was a half a second. For me, it was 2 or 3 minutes. I figured it out. Something fell in the back of my car that just made a noise and kind of threw me. All right. So, yes, you can become a patron anytime you like, and it'll be wonderful, and I'll give you a shout-out, and I appreciate it, but you also do not need to. You can just listen like you do, and that's fine, too. Share it with your friends, share it with your neighbors, whatever. All right, shout-outs. So we go back to the very beginning. July of 2018, if you can believe it. 4 people are currently patrons with me that signed up in July of 2018. And I am only doing first names, because some people don't want the full names, and some people, I just don't do full names. So, and some people, these are nicknames. Chatty, you show as being the longest. Now, you may have signed up. Kristen is number 2, and Susie is number 3. It's possible that you all signed up on the same day. So, just time-wise, Chatty wins for being the first. But Chatty, Kristen, and Susie all signed up on July 19th of 2018. Can you believe it? Thank you, guys. That's amazing. Ishara was shortly after, the same month. She signed up. So thank you, Ishara. A person who shall not be named because they've asked to stay anonymous also signed up in August of that year. I appreciate you very much. You know who you are because you're the only person who said, I prefer to be anonymous. And then finally, Becky. Becky also signed up in 2018. All those people signed up during Big Brother 20. Thank you all very much. It's appreciated. You are currently still subscribers, and that is amazing and awesome. Next up, during Big Brother 21, actually, one person, no, okay, so Big Brother 21, Emily actually just re-signed up, but she signed up in January of 2019, so it wasn't even during, maybe it was maybe getting ready for Celebrity. I don't even know. I'm lost. Emily, you must have signed up right around Celebrity or something. And then Matt signed up during Big Brother 21. So thank you, Matt. Big Brother 22, Michael signed up. And Kim. Michael and Kim both signed up during Big Brother 21. And then we get to the big long list of people that have signed up in the past June and July. And I'm going to run down these names, but you've heard them several times before. Another Emily, right? Yes, this is a different Emily. Another Emily signed up in June. Angela signed up in June as well. And then we get to the list that I have said several times recently, including 2 people that I played Big Brother with, or played Sequester with, Jacob and Brandon. And then Kimberly, Nona, who I talked to the other day on Clubhouse, Adam, maybe, and maybe's her name. Kyle, maybe, by the way, is one of the people that does one of the live feed updates accounts. She helps with that. Kyle, Cece, or Cecilia, Bessie, Sam, Bill, Ann, and Sandy. That is everybody on my list. If for some reason you think you're a patron and I did not call your name, by all means, you yell and scream at me and I will give you like a billion shout-outs and apologies. But that is who is currently patrons, and I appreciate all of you. If any of you want me to do a special shout-out for somebody you know that actually listens to it, I'm guessing no, because I'm guessing a lot of you are closet Big Brother fans, and so people don't realize it. But I will gladly give out a shout-out to your friend or something if you want me to. Just message me and let me know via Patreon. That's the best way to get my attention. And that is about a wrap, except for the other comment that I have posted, I think 4 episodes of my Vegas trip now. I think the last one I posted was the wedding, and the actual wedding. I think I said this yesterday. I know that John, my friend who does listen to this, told me that he was looking forward to the wedding part, and I said, John, I posted that last night, and this was yesterday. So hopefully he's caught up by now. There you go. All right, I'm done. It's 36 minutes, guys. That's one of my longer car casts. I hope it fills a tiny bit of a void for some of you, but just know that I appreciate all of you listening, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. I will be going with my wife, and I think we're going to a nearby town and going for a big long walk with our dog. And I don't know what we're doing tonight, if we're doing anything. We may not be doing anything. I may be watching the feeds. And if I am, I'll be tweeting about it. All right. Take care, everybody. Be well. And thanks again. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.